serious? Are you serious? Guys, it's crashing, or at least they think it is. The cryptocurrency crash. Is this all part of the global reset? Now, just seen a moment ago, Bitcoin down about 40% in the last 24 hours. And it's not just Bitcoin, it's all of the cryptocurrencies are hurting right now. Stock market's also down, but it is making a rally here late in the day. And then, of course, the volatility of and you know what? When you have an infrastructure, it's the pipelines are getting hacked, and the bridges are cracking, and the masks, we don't know if we're supposed to wear them or not. I mean, there's so much stuff going on that people are concerned, and this stuff brings that inconsistency. That's what messes with markets. But there's an answer to this. There's a method to the madness, and we got to get the man that knows to help us out. Are you serious? Bob Kudla's with us from TradeGeniusAcademy.com. Bob, how you doing?
I'm good, Mr. Madness himself. So
you are.
Yeah, let's talk crypto here. We were joking in the room today and said, if you were living in Hawaii and you decided to wake up late, you'd be like, what's all the hoo-ha about? Because the market started crashing at 3 a.m. And then by, I think, as of 2 hours ago, if Bitcoin's down, $1,000 from where it was from 24 hours ago. So, long story short, we expected a sell-off into May, into the end of May. And we had a target of 43,000 where we would be looking to bottom. But this move, when these moves happen like this overnight, and come right back like this was just an uncontrolled, somebody got caught long that had to bail out. And, it lasted maybe an hour down at that $30,000 level. I think it even broke 30,000 on some of the exchanges. And within 2 hours, it was back up to 40,000. Looking at it right now, it's $40,089. So, we went ahead and we bought this dip. We think this is what we call an intermediate dip. And now we're looking for the measured move. And this is, you look at Fibonacci, from September to March, April, where the high hit. This is a 50% retracement. This is actually like normal bull market activity. And this is where the institutions buy, and buy they did. JP Morgan came out today and said we think 35,000 is fair value, which translated means that's what we were buying it for our clients today. And so we think this move is probably done. Look, it got a little ahead of itself at 60-some thousand. It went up 800%. From the 17.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's from the 2020 lows. It's up even more than that from the 17 or the 18 lows. So, yeah, so you have to expect it. One thing, if you're trading cryptocurrency, you got to trade it like a stock. If you're investing in cryptocurrency, you kind of got to ignore these things, or if it gets overvalued, you got to trim the hedges a little bit so you have cash to buy back when they do these dips. From a macro standpoint, nothing's changed, Paul. Nothing. The Federal Reserve has to buy all the debt that the government is creating, and they're going to continue to create. And so the agenda that the Democrats have put forward, you're talking potentially $4 to $6 trillion. If they compromise with the Republicans, it's still going to be $4 trillion. It's just going to be a different mix. Well, as the balance sheets around the world continue to climb, Bitcoin is tied to that. So on the crypto side, we think we probably bottomed out here. It may dance around here a little bit.
Well, I just saw you said 40,000 something. It was 38,400 1 hour ago. Okay, so it's jumped over $2,000 in the last hour.
Yeah, and you got to realize, only 20% of all the coins are trading. Most of the stuff's just put away. Most people are like, whatever, and so that makes, when there's less coins floating, trading, the moves can be wilder. Okay, So, but yeah, that's what it is. So, we think now the move is going to probably go back. The measured move is to 88,000, and that should be by the fall. And then,
wow.
Yeah, then you get back to the halving issues, where it can roll back down again. So,
yeah,
so that's kind of where we think it is. We obviously take it day by day, but that's our macro view. And I put my money where my mouth is. I bought 4 times over the last 2 days with the last trade this morning to keep bringing my average down. And so that's crypto. When you're talking, what's going on in the macro environment, the government is having problems messaging right now. And the reason being is that, first of all, their messages suck because what they're trying to, they have to lie to the American people. So when you have to lie to people, your message is garbled from the get-go, and now you have competing political units within the Biden administration that every day somebody else gets the mic, and so because Joe's not home, and so you have to deal with all that stuff. And in addition to that is that they can't get their agenda pushed through. So
they got a super majority. They got a super majority. It's thin. It's very thin, but they can't get anything through because they're trying to shove through, Bob, such a radical left-wing agenda that the center Democrats, so the old school Democrats, are like, guys, we can't do this. And
there's five Democratic senators that any one giving agenda item can't do it. But look, they're all united around. They're not going to support the filibuster change, and that's good. The whole radical agenda is out the door. So they can only do things in reconciliation and executive orders. And so you can only do so much with either one of those. So the main stuff is being blocked, and so they're just going to try to keep spending.
Do you think the tax increases that Biden wants? I don't see it happening. Do you?
Never happened. The Republicans would be suicidal if they vote for it. So they're not going to vote for it. And so all we're going to do is going to spend more money, which helps the crypto case, helps the gold case, helps the commodity case. Now what we're dealing with is the Fed's trying to jawbone down commodity prices by pretending that they think they're going to taper. They can't taper. The market would crash, literally crash, the minute they stop providing, taking assets, from the government. If they didn't do it, interest rates would be up over 10-year would be up over 2%, 3%. Stock market would be down 20, 30%. No president will survive that. And the Fed may not survive it. There might be just calls to disband them. And so all this is jawboning. Big money knows it's jawboning. And so they kind of whip the market around so they can constantly, be ahead of retail. So our view is between now and the June Fed meeting, where they have to put up or shut up. I think we'll see probably some market weakness. I think the crypto got ahead of that. So I think the crypto move's probably done. Gold and silver, uranium, all held up really well today. I mean, the market was down quite a bit, and they all held pretty well today. And so we think that's where you keep your money, and especially uranium. The uranium miners are just doing awesome. They don't even care that market sold off. We don't have to sell off. We have a product that everybody needs, and we don't have enough of it. And so
precious metals is still a very good place to go. I mean, gold, silver, and uranium, especially uranium, because certainly when there's inflation, and this inflation is being, as you say, being controlled by the buying of the debt. When you have an inflation, hard assets like precious metals, they do well. I mean, they do well because they're actually tangible. But doesn't that mean there's still great opportunities in the market? I mean, is that right?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, the stock market has silver, gold miners, right? Platinum miners, uranium miners. That's what we're trading. I'm not trading the physicals. You trade the miners, you have a lot more leverage. Look, silver's up almost 50% since the March low, right? So it's not like silver's lagging. It's just that it's not the sexy beast it was, in 2011 when it was just rocketing. But that day's still coming, Paul. Everybody's worried about the Fed taper. That's what's kind of keeping things kind of, off to the edge. But once they know the Fed can't do it and they have to start managing the yield, gold and silver are literally going to be moonshots. But in the meantime, buy uranium. We're trading platinum and palladium. Oh, the other stock we're in is the fertilizer stocks. Same thing. They didn't even blink today because once again, grand solar minimum coming. They got to force feed the fields.
Wow.
And there's not enough of it. You got to remember, for years and years and years, they underinvested in all these mines because they weren't getting the returns. And now everybody wants it. It takes years to get a mine back up and running again. And a lot of these guys now, if you notice, there's a lot of hoarding going on. So even if you have it, you may not release it because you're like, hey, if I pull back 10% of my production, I'm getting a 20% increase in my price. So why should I just give the market I'm making more return by doling out less? And I think they're finding it across the board. Copper and shipping, to ship lines, okay, they pulled ships off the market. They're not, they could ship more product, but these shippers realize, hey, if I take a few boats off, I'm going from $500 a truckload to $20,000. So why would I even think about adding any capacity here? I own it,
It's kind of it looks like to me, Bob, that the pandemic, the panicking of the pandemic brought some disruptions in the supply chains and has caused a recorrection in shipping costs and different industries. And so people are now are coming back slower because they're getting paid more to go slow. It's kind of what's happening. Greed always takes over. At some point, someone says, wow, we're making this much a load. All these other guys dragging their feet. I'm just going to go for it. At some point, it switches back. So let's talk about this fertilizer thing, because the first time I met you, Bob, and we had dinner, we had lunch over in California. And when I was introduced to you, I was fascinated with the fact that you study the weather to help determine what commodity prices would do what. If there's a lot of floods, if the rice fields would be destroyed, you knew that this would go up, or the corn would do that, oil would do this. Fertilizer due to a grand solar minimum. That is the first time I've heard that. I've heard about silver is going to go up because we need more solar panels. Okay, I got that. But fertilizer because of grand solar minimum. Can you help me understand that a little bit?
Yeah, so, potash is one of the inputs you put on a field to help the crops grow faster. And so if you have a shortened growing season because spring went too long or fall's coming too quickly, is that you to boost the speed in which the crops ripen, you put potash on your field and nitrogen, to get basically your it's adrenaline. And so Mosaic is one of the companies, IPI is one of the companies, ICL is one of the companies, and we've been watching and trading these guys for years. And this year, when it got down to $16, $17, we said let's go into 50. And so we've been trading in and out of this thing for the past, 9 months. Now it's at 37, and it's still going to go to 50. So we've just been having a good time trading it. In fact, somebody who shot me a thank you basically incorporated into their trading scheme, and he just makes money all the time from it. So it's one of those trades: see trade, take trade, rinse and repeat on the oscillation of the algorithm. And so, yeah, you want to own it. And the nice thing, not nice thing about it, the nice thing if you're trading it is that most of the potash comes from Canada and Kazakhstan, and Kazakhstan is notorious for pulling product off the market if they can squeeze you. And so they also have uranium too. So all of a sudden you'll start hearing noise saying, oh, you may have to have export controls, or there might be quality control issues. And then boom goes the price. And, with the solar minimum, people think the grand solar minimum kills you is the cold. It does somewhat. What kills you is the rain. and people, these global warming nuts have it ass backwards on everything. So when it gets colder, the moisture can't be held in the air. It has to be condensated into the ground, but through rain. Well, the fields stay wet because they don't get a chance to evaporate as fast, and so it shortens the growing seasons.
Yep.
And so they have to then pour on potash. So it's just been a good trade for us. And look, we're since we diverged into this, I think we have an El Nino year coming up. It's starting to rain now in South America.
Yeah. So what's that going to? So that's going to make the monsoon rains even worse. Be a lot worse.
Yeah, they're kind of a dual-edged sword because the rain in South America gets to be problematic, but Australia needs it, India needs it, and then you have and the desert Southwest in the U.S. is going to get rain. So we may actually have a year to 18 months where the weather may warm a little bit, and then we come out of this next solar cycle and we just dive and into 2024. And so that's how we're looking at it right now. But it doesn't matter. They need more fertilizer on the ground. And China is having a problem. They for a country that's supposed to be the second most advanced country in the world, they have some really, really, really poor practices, in terms of managing their foodstuffs. And so, and they're very dependent on a couple river valleys. And so, they've had some problems the last couple of years. Well, they wiped out their pig population through disease and grains. And so they've been buying up American stuff. And so it got to the point where corn's so profitable for the farmers, they just sell to the Chinese, and we're feeding our cattle and pigs wheat. And so, you have a problem here now that's not going to abate. The Chinese have to rebuild their pork stock. That's what the people are number one protein, and so that's not going away if we have a year or two of warmer weather. So they're in big deficit.
Folks, this is Bob Kudla with us from TradeGeniusAcademy.com, TradeGeniusAcademy.com, and we put up on the screen while you were talking there some of the comments of some of the praise you've been getting. Folks are doing real well. And your algorithms at your academy, folks, you may have never traded before. You don't have to. Maybe you don't know anything about what to do. If you go into the Trade Genius Academy and go to take the class, take the training, get the tools, you can start to participate in trading. And Bob will help you walk before you run. And there's a lot of chat rooms. There's a lot of interaction between other like-minded people like yourself, and you get some great tips. And there's also the triggers. Bob, you could just ride along on your coattail and do pretty well. Am I right?
Yeah. So we'll teach you to fish. We'll give you the fishing equipment, and we'll throw you some fish every day. We put trades out nearly every day. And the chat rooms are open 24/7. I'm in them when the market's open for stock. So if you need to get a hold of me, you just go ahead and put a question out there, and if somebody else doesn't answer it in the room, I certainly will get to it. And it's a really good system. We've been doing it for a long time. You and I met 6 years ago, so
wow,
that's I know how time flies, huh? And so we've been doing this for 7 years, and I've been trading since 1991. So we've been honing this system for a long time, and it's evergreen. It's based on buying pressure and selling pressure. That doesn't change. So we just tweak the system to get what we call a good enough system that has consistent profit, and that's what we released onto the market, and people seem to like it.
Do you feel that, we talked a lot about when the Trump administration was here, and he did some great things as far as deregulation, cutting taxes, getting rid of, or making the inheritance tax really more advantageous. He did some things, tariffs on China, deregulation to where factories came back. I was very, very, very concerned about the new administration, the Biden administration coming in. But it looks to me like Trump's plan is still in play. I mean, nobody's really tinkered with it, have they?
No, ironically, even the border, Biden's going to finish the border fence.
Yeah, now he's going to start building.
Yeah, and his view on China, I think the Biden administration is even more hawkish than Trump was, for different reasons. Trump looked at it from an economic standpoint. The Democrats are looking at it from a social standpoint, but they don't trust the Chinese either. And so that's it. And then there's another plan that Trump put in place that the Biden administration just took on, part and parcel. So what Trump did. A lot of people get confused. Trump was populist. He wasn't a conservative.
Right.
So he's for the people. So if it was something that was kind of quasi-democratic, but it worked, he adopted it. Most people say a good plan. What everybody always wanted, the people aren't so partisan, but the politicians are. You and I would be like, hey, if it's a good plan, it's moral, we're in. And we're a 50-50 country. You don't swing 101 way or the other. Hey, we need to give poor people more money because it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. So Biden, to his credit, they follow along with things that were common sense things that Trump did. And so and the stuff the radical stuff that he wants to put through, not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
And they'll probably lose the midterms here because the House is so uncontrolled radical that and you can't calm them down. They just get worse and worse. So basically Biden has 6 more months before he has to get in campaign mode, right? So and something happens to him, God forbid. Kamala Harris is a mess, and so she does not have the temperament to be a president. She's she's a psychotic narcissist.
Well, I don't think Biden can't run for a second term. I mean, everyone knows that. Okay, he knows. But if Harris is the answer, and I doubt it, I don't think the Democratic Party will even embrace her. The people, I'm talking about the Democrats themselves, they're not going to embrace her. 2% only wanted her the first round. So that would be a losing cause. I think they're really in a predicament right here coming into 2024. And it really doesn't have to be about Trump making her comeback. It's just whoever Trump anoints, if it's Ron DeSantis or whoever he anoints.
Yeah, I don't think Trump's going to run again. I think he's going to pretend to take all the lightning bolts. Yep. And he's going to go ahead and I think, look, Ron DeSantis is the only guy. I mean, let's not pretend to people. Ron DeSantis is the guy. And so he has a temperament. He's all the things you love about Trump, and he doesn't have all the things you hate about Trump. So he
don't have the baggage, and yet he has the temperament, and he's a smooth operator, yet he's he ain't afraid to pull the trigger. If something doesn't make sense, it don't make sense.
Well, he's able to explain it in a very calm but forceful way, where you have to, and where you just can't argue with the logic. So I don't know if he was a lawyer or whatever, but he's very comfortable in his own skin.
Yeah, I met with a guy last night that was actually there. His name is Luis Miguel, young guy. He's running for Senate, taking on Marco Rubio. And I thought, wow. But he is Latino, and he's sharp. He spoke a little bit last night before I did. And I thought whenever he got done, I talked to him after the meeting was over, and I said, you're taking on Marco Rubio. I mean, you do know that no one knows who you are and everyone knows who he is. He goes, true. But this gives me a platform. I'm going to take it from he's a rhino, I'm not, okay? And yeah, even if I lose, you'll know who I am when I'm done, okay? And I give the kid credit. He's about 31 years old. I'm thinking, you got to give him credit. He's figuring he's going to push his brand. And I'm starting to think, is there a crop of younger people that are going to be pushed out there to take on the so-called rhinos? I don't even think Rubio, I'm not sure he's a rhino. There's some real rhinos out there. I mean, if you want to talk about Romney and these people. But is there you think there's going to be a push to try to changes? I mean, you think that's good? You think it's going to happen?
Yeah, well, it's already happening, and it's good. And remember, the generation that's coming up now is social media tested. So, and they also cancel culture tested.
Yeah.
And so so they know how to. You look at people like you were talking about Charlie Kirk. You're talking about Candace Owens. You're talking about Ben Shapiro. These guys have been in the debate club one-on-one with the where it's very nasty. So the messages are honed, and the messages are well received by people. And I think look at that lady from Loudoun County, the mom, African American mom, and basically explaining blackness to white school board members that want to put in black things. She's like, no, you have it wrong, completely wrong. And so you're starting to see people that want to integrate into the American dream. They don't want to constantly be put out there, and you're seeing a lot of these young activists now starting to come up that are articulate. And I'm an optimist, and I don't worry too much about this. I think the American people, when push comes to shove, they don't want what's being sold. I just think people have too many other things on their agenda in life, and then until things come up at them, I think the Democrats made a huge mistake with the pandemic in terms of they
overreached big time.
Soccer moms.
Yep. All right, Bob Kudla, TradeGeniusAcademy.com. This is why he's got the wisdom, folks. This is why he's got the wisdom and can stay out ahead of these things as far as trading, because you got to first understand the geopolitical world from a global perspective. For instance, this thing going on in the Middle East right now, okay? And what is China doing with Taiwan? And what about Ukraine and Russia? Okay, well, what else going on in the South China Sea, and everything taking place? The good news is this: at TradeGeniusAcademy.com, you can learn how to make trades and maneuvers based on the geopolitical world that you're looking at. I'm going to say something right now, Bob. You've convinced me over these last 6 years that you know what you're doing. Okay. Okay. And so now what I say is I feel so much more better. I was absolutely paranoid about this new administration that came in, what they were going to wreck the country. 6 months into this, I realized they've made so many blunders and mistakes that were so easy. The softball, they could hit so many home runs. Now they're not going to get nothing done before 2022 because nobody's going to go with that left-wing liberal agenda. And then after the election, they can't get nothing else done because the House is going to flip. And maybe the Senate too. So then Joe will obviously be a lame duck, and no pun intended there, but there'll be nothing happening there. Okay, nothing's happening there. Bob, what kind of specials? Wait, let's get these specials in.
All right, a little plug time. Yeah, so we have 65% off. We have bundles available to you. You want to trade stocks, cryptos, training, coaching. Just check out. We have 7 of them put together. You want to trade futures or get in what we call a VIP room where you can actually interact with me directly. You'll get a little bit more of advanced, reading into some trades that you don't normally get to take. And if you don't like that and you want to just trade and buy anything in the store, not bundled, you can pick and choose, and use promo code spring or May, get 40% off, and join us that way. We price everything very, very modestly in terms of what you get out of the service. And we let our record speak for itself, and then you renew, and it becomes a win-win for both of us.
You got some happy.
You'll take advantage of the pricing.
You got some real happy followers now, and they've done real well over the last couple of years. And you're hitting some real good batting average. You can win a Triple Crown if he's in baseball right now, folks. Bob, you talked about fertilizers. Tell us, what is your hottest industry where you think you want to lead some people in? Can you give us a tip on that right now?
Yeah, look, I'm a broken record. Uranium's still good. We probably have another double or triple left in the price of uranium, which means probably another triple or quadruple in the price of the miners that are delivering them. So, today you always look at when the market sold up, what is holding up well. Uranium didn't care, fertilizer didn't care. Those are your two. The sleeper is obviously silver. And if they lose control of the silver market, then you can see silver quickly go back to the 2011 highs, which was around 50. And so that's kind of where we are. We think, if you're in tech and stuff like that, that's being sold to buy the commodities. So those are my secrets, and we'll help you buy the right stocks in there if you join us, and tell you when to add and subtract, and take advantage of this. My favorite position is uranium. People ask me all the time, Bob, should I settle? I'm like, don't talk to me about uranium for 6 more months. So that's how strongly I feel about it.
That's strong. I had people a few years ago, they really, really went out and bought stock in Zion Oil and Gas, because it was discovered that Zion Oil and Gas they got their hands on one of the largest oil reserves in the world. Their stock plummeted from over $4 to 35 cents. Do you see any rebound there? Is there a reason that can't come back? Do you see fossil fuel or oil and gas making a comeback anywhere here?
Oh, oil's going to probably go to $80 at some point. Let me pull it up for you real quick.
Okay.
The IOP, I think it is, right?
I don't know. I don't know what their colors are.
No. Let me just try real quick. Sorry, guys. We're doing some real time trading.
This is real, guys. And thanks for doing this, Bob. Because I made a comment one time on a program. Look out for Zion Oil and Gas. It could explode. And so people went out and bought the stock, and then it took a fall. And I've taken a beating in the head over that because I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm thinking, why not just ask Bob? Should people maybe buy? It's cheap right now. I think it's like 35. I don't know what it is.
I have to do some heavy digging, but from a technical standpoint, it's making a higher low. So chances are it has a 10 or 15% move in it to the upside. So there's a potential on it back to $1.73, and it's at 62 cents right now. So that's what I'll say right now. Next time I'll watch it for you, and we'll talk about it next month.
Okay, sounds like a good time to buy it.
ENOG.
All right, we'll talk about next month, guys, so don't miss the program with Bob Kudla at TradeGeniusAcademy.com. Bob, hey, it's been good. Look forward to talking to you again next month.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yep. We'll see you guys next month.